People tend to idealize everything old and criticize the new, and the Mercedes E-Class with the W210 index was no exception. For round eyes, like those of the worst enemies from the BMW camp, provoked many people's bewilderment, misunderstanding and hatred. However, time heals everything, and even the 210th in our time is already considered by some to be the next, last real E-Class. This, however, did not prevent the model from acquiring myths. The four-eyed optics were still considered alien, someone heard about safety that it was weak, and then the corrosion of the body came in time. Today we will understand popular speculation and recall interesting facts related to the history of development and features of the biography of this model. Myth number 1. W210 was developed in the 90s. Based on the appearance, most contemporaries believe that this car was developed in the 90s and was released almost immediately after the first prototypes were created. However, the history of W210 is much longer and more intricate than you might think. After all, the competition between Mercedes and BMW was acute, and promising developments in Stuttgart and Munich were expected to begin immediately after the new model was put on the assembly line. Already in 1988, that is, just 3 years after the launch of the E-Class W124 and even a year before its restyling, Mercedes designers began to develop the next generation of a mid-size car. It is all the more surprising to realize that the Mercedes E-Class, which has made a real, cultural revolution, was really created back in the late 80s, in fact, anticipating world trends and the future trend for rounded shapes and soft lines. Myth number 2. The initial sketches of the car were made by an unknown designer. The appearance of this model became the reason for many years of discussions and disputes, and the unconventional solution of the front part with round optics for the brand prompted many to think that the design of the car was ordered by a third-party body shop. Bruno Sacco, who headed the Daimler-Benz Design Center from 1975 to 1999, is rightly considered the founding father of the appearance of most Mercedes of that period. However, according to the official version of Mercedes-Benz, Steve Madden is also related to the design of many of these Mercedes, although created under the leadership of an Italian. In 1990, Madden was appointed senior designer of Mercedes-Benz, and 3 years later, senior design manager. But whose fresh blood helped the model to find its look, which was continued in the design of many other Mercedes. In the second half of the 80s, Michael Fink, a young American designer who worked for GM for a while, but unknown to anyone, sent his sketches to the Germans, hoping to get a job at a prestigious company, which happened in October 1989. Some sources claim that it was Fink who was the true author of the appearance not only of the W210 of the first and second generations, but also of the A-Class, CLK, Maybach, ML, GL, C, and even S-Class. Officially, he is considered the author of the CLK, W209, design and owns a patent for the appearance of the CLS four-door coupe. Myth number 3, the W210 was much more expensive than the BMW E39. Not having enough reliable information, many believe that the W210 in a similar configuration with a closed-liter engine allegedly cost more than the BMW 5 Series. However, in 1998, the basic versions with 2-liter engines cost respectively 56,925 Deutschmarks for the Mercedes E200 Classic and 57,000 marks for the BMW 520i. And if you think about it, it could not be otherwise, because the prices for similar modifications and the level of equipment of both manufacturers and the conditions of market competition were rigidly adjusted to each other. Myth number 4, there was a factory armored version. Since 1995, that is, almost from the very beginning of the model's release, armored Mercedes W210 were produced in Sindelfingen, and due to the level of protection of B6 and the considerable weight of 6.5 mm thick armor plates, only modifications with a V8 engine were available for order, first E420, and since September 1997 E430. Since March 1997, a lightweight booking option was also offered, corresponding to the B4 class. The smaller curb weight allowed turning into an armored car not only the W210 with a V8, but also the more affordable Mercedes E320 with a 6-cylinder engine. Myth number 5. The W210 all-wheel drive was very advanced for its time. It's true. All-wheel drive appeared on the E-Class long before it officially became one in 1987, the 4MATIC all-wheel drive system appeared as an option on some versions of the W124. In 1998, the 4MATIC was also offered for the W210, and in the new generation the system became much more advanced due to the help of electronics. After all, from now on, the permanent all-wheel drive of Mercedes cars was equipped with an electronic traction system ETS, which could prevent the driving wheels from slipping both at the start and during acceleration in a straight line and cornering. Myth number 6, the W210 had safety and corrosion resistance issues. Compared to the Mercedes W124, it has become much safer. After all, in the 90s it was already unthinkable to introduce a new Mercedes without airbags, which was commonplace in the previous decade. Also, when designing the body, the deformation zones were noticeably increased, which should have a favorable effect on the safety of the occupants of the cabin in the event of an accident. However, the crash test of 1998 brought only 3 stars just because of the severe deformation of the floor in the area of the driver's legs, and the welds in this place completely diverged. However, after the modernization, the updated model was retested, and according to the new Euro NCAP methodology, which already included the so-called pillar test. As a result, the Mercedes-Benz W210 earned 4 stars. If the safety of a car by the standards of those years is a subject for discussion, then corrosion resistance is not. After all, it was the red disease that caused noticeable damage to the reputation, which rotted both power elements like the front suspension cups in the engine compartment, and thresholds, the lower part of the doors, wheel arches, wings and even bumper mounts. Therefore, many W210 went to disassembly not because of engine or transmission failure, which were very reliable, but due to severe corrosion of the body, the repair of which was economically impractical.